Hello everyone, welcome back to Iron Conflict and Frontline. Today we dive deep into a major development shaking the geopolitical landscape as Russia intensifies its military operations and President Vladimir Putin signals what may be the next phase or next target in this ongoing conflict. The phrase "killed, captured" has echoed across recent briefings, sending a sharp message globally about the scale of devastation unfolding inside Ukraine. In this detailed video explanation, we'll break down the situation by examining the exterior geopolitical environment, the interior dynamics within Russia and Ukraine, the performance of the military campaign, the safety measures and defense systems influencing the battlefield, the unique strategic elements at play, the real price of this conflict, and then wrap up with a clear, comprehensive conclusion. When we look at the exterior side of this story, the first thing that becomes clear is that the conflict is no longer confined to isolated regions or quiet border tensions. It has expanded into a massive confrontation shaping alliances, redefining global power balances, and forcing nations to reconsider their military strategies. On the outside, what the world sees is a calculated, hard-edged Russian military doctrine, pushing forward, applying maximum pressure, and using destructive force against Ukrainian positions. Satellite imagery, international reports, and analyst observations show widespread damage across Ukrainian cities, flattened buildings, disrupted infrastructure, and long lines of military convoys stretching toward key urban centers. The exterior also reflects a strategic pattern. Russia aims to reshape the battlefield not just through firepower, but through psychological pressure. By publicly stating casualties, prisoners, and territorial advances, Moscow tries to project dominance outward. Ukraine, on the other hand, shows resilience on the exterior front by reinforcing positions, deploying Western-supplied systems, and attempting to maintain strong morale among soldiers and civilians. But externally, Ukraine is under immense strain as Russia's attacks intensify. The world sees a conflict that has become a test of strength, endurance, and international backing. The exterior picture is one of smoke-filled horizons, destroyed armored vehicles, shifting control lines, and millions of civilians facing disruption every single day. This layer tells us how the war appears from the outside: loud, destructive, and relentlessly high stakes. Moving inside, looking briefly into the interior dynamics, there's a different story that balances pressure, politics, and survival. Inside Russia, the narrative is built on strength, resolve, and national destiny. Putin's message suggests that Russia is prepared to push further and that the next objective is already in sight. The government portrays the operation as a protective mission, framing it as defending its borders and countering what it claims are external threats. Russian citizens receive a heavily filtered image of the conflict, one emphasizing victories and strategic necessity. Inside Ukraine, the situation is shaped by fear, determination, and unity. People are adapting to daily air raid sirens, damaged homes, supply shortages, and the constant stress of unpredictable attacks. But despite the hardship, Ukraine's interior atmosphere is also driven by national pride and the will to defend their homeland. The internal political structure remains committed to resistance, negotiating for international support, and keeping the population encouraged even in the darkest moments. The interior dimension is tight, emotional, and fragile, contrasting sharply with the massive military actions seen on the outside. When analyzing performance, we look at how both militaries are executing their strategies on the ground. Russia's performance has intensified with more coordinated attacks on infrastructure, energy grids, and military installations. Their forces are relying heavily on artillery superiority, air power, long-range missiles, and large-scale mechanized pushes. The speed at which Russian units adapt to new front lines and shift resources indicates a long-prepared operational plan. They appear focused on weakening Ukraine's defensive capability before making any major territorial grabs. Reports indicate that new Russian formations, including airborne units, missile divisions, and electronic warfare teams, are actively shaping the battlefield. The performance also includes Russia's strategic signaling. Putin openly discussing casualties and captives sends a message that Russia feels confident in its current momentum. Ukraine's performance, while brave and determined, faces limitations. Their defense heavily relies on Western equipment, drones, anti-air systems, and infantry resilience. Ukrainian units continue to defend key cities, launch counterattacks when possible, and work closely with intelligence sharing partners. Their performance shows tactical brilliance in certain regions, especially where small units conduct ambushes or disrupt Russian supply lines. However, constant bombardments, shortages of ammunition, and fatigue among soldiers weaken Ukraine's long-term performance potential. Still, the Ukrainian military adapts quickly, utilizing urban environments, fortified trenches, and drone reconnaissance to balance the overwhelming power Russia brings to the battlefield. The dual performance tells a story of brute strength versus strategic adaptability. Safety features in this conflict refer not to comfort or protection like in a vehicle, but to the defensive systems and measures both sides used to survive the war. For Russia, safety features include a layered missile defense network capable of intercepting Ukrainian drones and rockets. Their digital warfare tools attempt to jam communications and disable Ukrainian drones mid-air. Russia also deploys armored vehicles designed to withstand heavy fire and uses trenches, forward operating defensive lines, and anti-drone cages on tanks as battlefield safety upgrades. These measures help reduce losses and maintain momentum. Ukraine's safety features depend largely on international support. Western air defense systems like NASAMS, IRIS-T, and Patriot batteries create protective shields over major cities. These systems prevent some of the worst damage from Russian missile strikes. Ukraine also invests heavily in drone detection, mobile air defenses, reinforced bunkers, and civilian evacuation strategies. The safety measures are not foolproof, but they play a crucial role in saving thousands of lives amidst constant bombardment. Despite these precautions, Ukrainian cities still face immense vulnerability, especially when Russia overwhelms their systems with barrage-style attacks. Safety in this war is a constant race between technology and survival, and every new layer of defense is tested the moment it is deployed. When we talk about unique selling points in this context, we're referring to the strategic advantages each side brings that shape the direction of the conflict. Russia's unique selling point is its scale, its massive military reserves, deep weapons stockpiles, advanced missile capabilities, and the ability to sustain long-term conflict. Another advantage is Russia's strategic patience. They move slowly, deliberately, and often allow political pressure to work alongside military pressure. Russia's leadership uses psychological warfare, media framing, and diplomatic leverage to create fear, uncertainty, and confusion in the international community. This gives Russia a psychological edge in shaping the narrative. Ukraine's unique selling points revolve around unity, global support, and creativity. Ukraine's ability to mobilize its population, integrate technology rapidly, and form strong alliances has allowed it to stay afloat in a war where it is drastically outmatched in size. Ukrainian forces use creativity in battlefield tactics, employing drones, homemade weapons, improvised defenses, and crowd-sourced intelligence. Their resilience inspires widespread international sympathy, which increases foreign aid and keeps Ukraine supplied with some of the world's most advanced defensive technology. Ukraine's story has become a global symbol of resistance against overwhelming power, and that symbolic strength fuels their ability to endure. The price of this conflict is staggering, stretching far beyond numbers and battlefield statistics. For Russia, the financial cost includes sanctions, reduced foreign investment, and the ongoing expense of maintaining a massive war machine. Each missile launched, each tank deployed, and each mobilization effort carries a heavy economic burden. But the political price is equally significant. Strained alliances, diplomatic isolation in many regions, and a tense, uncertain relationship with the West that may shape Russia's future for decades. Yet Russia seems committed to paying this price as long as its leadership believes the strategic outcome will benefit them in the long run. For Ukraine, the price is far more direct and devastating. Entire cities lie in ruins, millions have been displaced, families have been torn apart, and the national economy struggles to function under constant attack. Every day brings new casualties, new destruction, and new challenges for survival. The rebuilding cost, even if the war ended today, would be enormous. Beyond physical destruction, Ukraine pays with emotional trauma, collective grief, and the long-term scars of a nation fighting for its existence. The price also extends to the international community. Rising tensions, increased military spending, energy crises, and the risk of wider confrontation. In conclusion, as Putin reveals what could be the next target, and as Russia intensifies its campaign, the conflict enters a more unpredictable and dangerous phase. The exterior shows an expanding battlefield with destructive momentum. The interior reveals political narratives shaping public perception and influencing wartime decisions. The performance of both militaries highlights a clash between overwhelming power and determined resistance. Safety measures show how both sides struggle to protect their forces and civilians in an increasingly lethal environment. Unique selling points give each side strategic advantages that influence global opinion and battlefield outcomes. And finally, the price of this war paid in economic strain, human lives, destroyed cities, and global instability remains far too high for both nations and the world. As developments continue, one thing is clear: this conflict is not just a fight over territory, but a battle over identity, influence, and the future of regional power. The next target hinted by Putin signals that the war is far from over, and the coming months may reshape the geopolitical landscape in ways impossible to ignore.